Hi, my name is Micaela Bermudez. I am a dual language immersion teacher in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. The school that I'm working right now is called Speas Elementary, and I teach second grade in a dual language immersion setting. I have been teaching for 8 years, and I have been teaching at Speas Elementary for 3 years already. The project that I'm sharing today is a pictorial input chart that I use to promote oracy and conversation at the beginning of a unit of study. How I use it in my classroom is I present the students with pictures related to the vocabulary that I'm going to be using in the future for that unit that I think is important. And I put students in groups to allow them to have the conversation about the prior knowledge. This not only helps me use it as a pre-assessment to know the vocabulary that my students already know in the target language and in their first language applies. And also it allows me to decrease the affective filter for the introduction of the lesson, being that it allows the students to talk to each other and to be able to say whatever they feel about the picture, whatever they think that they connect to with the picture. And so it makes them more comfortable for that introduction for the vocabulary. I applied this lesson in-person setting last year, but also I have learned how to be able to adapt this particular lesson into a hybrid model. So what I did is I actually did a Jamboard. So in the regular style of this lesson, you would place the pictures around different points of your room because you want the students to be clustered in different groups to be able to rotate through the pictures. But in the hybrid setting, what I did is I had to actually modify it. So I would put students in breakout rooms, so they would be in groups, and they would rotate through the pages of a Jamboard. And they would, each of them, put a sticky note or a note in the each of the pages of the Jamboard, saying something that they see in the picture. The specific benefit to use this type of strategy in a dual language setting, I have actually come to modify a bit of this strategy. It is based off a GLAD strategy called the pictorial input chart. The way that I modified it is after I learned through Project EnACTeD the importance of the full language repertoire of each of our students. What I do is I allow students to use whatever language they feel comfortable with and whatever vocabulary that they feel comfortable with. So for example, a lot of the times I allow them to use, if the target language is Spanish, which is in the case from my classroom, if they do not know the specific word they want to communicate in Spanish, but they know it in English, I allow them to write the phrase in Spanish and then that particular word in English and circle it. That way, it decreases, like I said before, the affective filter. It increases the level of communication that my students will have, and it allows me to know what vocabulary as a class they need, and then how to differentiate the vocabulary further on. So it is basically a multi-use tool as a pre-assessment for the vocabulary and to know exactly where the students are with the development of the full language that we're going to use, the full target language we're going to use. The biggest suggestion that I would say is, first of all, be very strategic with the groups that you make. You want to be able to have multi-levels in that group so that all the students feel like they're benefiting from this activity. In this activity, is not so much, I know in the pictorial input chart activity, a lot of the times the students will talk first and then write. The way that I use it, because I do want to know what each of the students know, is very important to, when you introduce the activity, to let them know that it's not so much about them working as a group to share ideas, but for them to put what they know particularly. And that is also very important that you understand that this is about activating their full language repertoire. It is not a test to know how much vocabulary they know. This is more for your information, but so the students also need to know that the affective filter needs, like, is slow. You have to have that so that you can get the full advantage of this activity. So whatever they write, you have to welcome it with open arms, because that's what's really going to give you the biggest output for this activity, the biggest outcome. Another suggestion that I have shared before, yes, make sure that you tell your students if they do not know a particular vocabulary word in the target language, but they know it in their home language. I use the strategy for them to circle that word, and that has really helped my students, providing basically them to participate and not feel unsuccessful just because they do not know the one word. And another strategy, like I said before, is for you not to put parameters on what do they need to share, because you want to know, like, in order for you to truly know the background knowledge that they have in this specific topic, you need to be able to let them write whatever background knowledge they have. And it actually, I have found that when I do not put any parameters, I just tell them to write whatever they see from the picture, I get a lot more information about what is it that they already know and what is the specific lessons that I need to target. When you're picking your pictures, make sure that you look at your standards that you're going to be teaching for your full unit, and choose pictures purposefully that will represent the different topics that you're going to be discussing. So one of the things that I am discussing in this unit is the patterns of change in weather and the changes in the season with the patterns of weather. And so it was important for me to have pictures that would showcase the changing color of the leaves, the falling of the leaves in the trees, which would be for fall because of the decrease of temperature, in the winter to make sure that it was pictures that would represent the decrease in temperature and activities that they would do. In the summer, I made sure to put pictures that would have vegetation, but also that would have activities that people would do, and how that human activity changes depending on the seasons. So those, you do not, of course, tell the students the reason why you're picking those pictures, but when you're picking the pictures, make sure you're very purposeful about what is it, the specific vocabulary you're gonna be hitting, and the ideas that you want students to have. And that way, when you see whatever vocabulary they give you or whatever phrases they put in these pictorial input charts, it allows you to know exactly, like I said before, what is it that they already know? Did it activate with those pictures, or will you have to purposefully teach it later on?